Russian soldiers wore Ukrainian army uniforms to fight their way into the frontline city of Kupiansk, Kyiv's military has said. Captain Andriy Kovalyev, a spokesman for the Ukrainian military, said that by disguising themselves as Ukrainian troops the Russian soldiers had committed a war crime. Russian soldiers wore uniforms resembling those of the Ukrainian armed forces. This violates the laws and rules of warfare and constitutes a war crime, he said. Kupiansk lies on the northern fringe of the front line and is considered a vital stronghold for Ukraine to control on the banks of the river Oskol, a natural defensive line. The town had a pre-war population of around 26,000 people and served as an important railway hub. It has already changed hands twice since Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine in February 2022. Analysts have said that if Russian forces capture Kupiansk, they could use it as a launchpad to push further west into the Kharkiv region, which is already under attack from the north. Captain Kovalyev insisted that Kyiv's soldiers remained in control of the town and had successfully repelled all the Russian attacks, even though several military bloggers reported that the Kremlin's forces had breached its defenses. The pro-Moscow 2 Majors channel reported that 2 columns of Russian soldiers had entered the city at night, marking the beginning of the battle for the city, an analysis backed up by the pro-Ukraine Deep State Telegram channel. Deep State said, in parade formation, the enemy has broken into Kupiansk. This afternoon, 2 columns of enemy vehicles advanced from the Limanu-Persho district. It also said that Ukrainian forces had destroyed 2 Russian armored personnel carriers as they advanced into the town. Andriy Besedin, a city official, said Russian troops who entered Kupiansk on Wednesday failed to hold their positions. Asked if Russian soldiers who had hidden in local houses had been neutralized, Mr. Besedin replied, "They were eliminated." John Hardy, deputy director of the Russia program at the US-based think tank the Foundation for the Defense of Democracies, also said Russian forces had penetrated fairly deep into the eastern section of Kupiansk. Russians attacked in 4 waves, using a total of 15 vehicles, including a UR-77 mine-clearing vehicle, tanks, and other armored vehicles, he said. The Kremlin's forces have been grinding slowly forward over the past few months across the long Donbas front line, accelerating their attacks in October and soaking up an enormous casualty rate. This has meant bearing down on Kupiansk, where local Ukrainian officials have ordered a mandatory civilian evacuation. Elsewhere on the front line, reports said that Russian forces were pressuring Ukrainian forces in Kharkiv in the south, a battle that the 2 Majors Telegram channel described as vital for the defense of the Ukrainian armed forces. The Russian army continues to storm Kharkiv and deploy a wide pincer around the city, it said. Fierce fighting was also continuing in Russia's Kursk region, where the Kremlin had launched an attack against Ukraine's salient. There, Russian forces claimed to have destroyed a British Challenger tank used by Ukrainian forces. On the accusations that its soldiers had dressed up in Ukrainian uniform, Russia's military has not commented, but warfare law states that any disguise needs to be limited to escape or infiltration. Soldiers are not allowed to fight in enemy uniforms. Russian and Ukrainian soldiers wear combat uniforms with different patterns and different colored masking tape around one arm or their helmets. These are usually blue or yellow for Ukrainian forces and white for Russian. There are many examples of soldiers disguising themselves to fool enemy forces throughout history, from the Trojan horse in Greek mythology at the Siege of Troy, to the 1942 British commando raid on Saint-Nazaire in France that knocked out German U-boat pens. Nazi soldiers also dressed up in American uniforms during the Battle of the Bulge towards the end of World War II.